Do you feel the vibes?
There is no better demonstration of the British love for an eccentric challenge than the well-trodden route between Land's End and John O'Groats. The journey between what are almost the two farthest flung points of the British mainland serves to illustrate both the nation's long, skinny shape 837 miles in a country where it's impossible to be more than 70 miles from the sea, and also our collective love of a bizarre quest. The first recorded walking of the whole distance took place in 1871, and, since then, it has been done on everything from bikes to skateboards to lawnmowers to at least one traverse by JCB. In an outright win for toughness, the route has even been swum, adventurer Sean Conway spending 135 days covering the 900-mile route around the coast in 2013. Driving is definitely the easy way, but although there have been some blisteringly quick private runs, the inability to close roads or evade prosecution means there are no official records in excess of the official speed limits. Our mission is subtly different and grander in ambition, to race the sun rather than the clock. The aim is to show that the journey can still be a proper adventure without getting arrested. And even in a vehicle as unlikely as the new Skoda Karoq. A mid-sized diesel-powered crossover might not seem like the most obvious choice for a rapid end-to-end run. But this is a journey where comfort and fuel range are far more important than outright pace. It's also the perfect opportunity to introduce what's likely to become one of Skoda's biggest sellers to the UK. The plan is to leave John O'Groats as the sun sets and reach Land's End before first light the next day, a north-to-south run giving us fractionally more night. Attempting it in mid-December would have been too easy, but choosing the night of 1 to 2 February gives an almost perfectly balanced challenge, with 14 hours and 44 minutes of night for a journey that Google reckons will take 14 hours and 56 minutes with no traffic delays. An inauspicious beginning. Time isn't the only challenge. The weather is determined to have a say. 2. Snow is falling as I drive the Karoq north to meet Snapper Stan Papier at Inverness Airport, and by the time we reach the Seaview Hotel at John O'Groats, the TV forecasters are standing next to maps covered in huge arrows and warning of an approaching Arctic front. The wind is already topping the gale scale, blowing hard enough to make it hard to stand upright. Things have changed since I was last here, in 2007. Back then, I did the same trip in my long-term test car at the time, a Citroën C6, to demonstrate its journey-shrinking abilities, and John O'Groats' end-of-the-world vibe felt as much post-apocalyptic as geographic. The village's eponymous hotel shuttered and seemingly at risk of collapse. Now it's restored and surrounded by luxury chalets, the cafes and gift shops doing a respectable trade even on a bleak Thursday. The increasing popularity of the North Coast 500 has brought many more travelers during the summer, and a fair crop of supercars, to judge from the pictures in some of the businesses. There's even a Starbucks franchise, where we kill a couple of hours waiting for the sun to set and watching the wind whip the North Sea. Sunset is an anticlimax, with no discernible difference in the gloomy grayness as 4:34 p.m. rolls around and, somewhere far behind the clouds, the sun dips below the horizon. The sat-nav reckons there are 839 miles ahead of us, and the Karoq's trip computer claims a 500-mile fuel range. As we set off, it starts to rain almost horizontally. The drive to Inverness is more of a trundle than a sprint, the A9 following the rugged shape and swoopy contours of the coastline for the first hour or so. It's spectacular, and twilight offers some good views of cliffs and moorland, but it's definitely not fast. Skoda has wisely chosen to fit our Karoq with Bridgestone Turanza winter tires, which are quick to indicate their lack of enthusiasm for higher speeds on the twistier sections. It's cold and slippery out there, and a nearly new Ford Transit, embedded in a fence, serves as a salutary lesson about the treacherous conditions. After twilight, the arrival of darkness reduces distractions, with the most noticeable being the sight of oil rigs far out to sea. brilliantly illuminated and with flare stacks blazing orange. Things are picking up in the North Sea, to judge from the number of them, both at work and towering over the small town of Invergordon, where they come for repair and refurbishment. Although the Karoq isn't mad on corners, it's pretty good at straights and capable of the sort of rapid but sensible pace necessary to keep on schedule in conditions like these. The long journey north to our official starting point has already proved it to be a fine long-legged cruiser, and although the 147 bhp version of the familiar 2.0-liter TDI diesel doesn't deliver scintillating thrust, it does have the doughty low-down torque that makes for relaxed progress. The manual gearbox is good, too, with a pleasingly precise shift action. The Volkswagen Group's ability to stir its MQB porridge pot into different flavors continues to impress. The Skoda's dynamic demeanor feeling bigger and more grown-up than its mechanically near-identical VW t-roc and Sedatica cousins. Traveling by night was meant to cut down on traffic, but we encounter a 5-minute queue for roadworks that have reduced the bridge over the Cromarty Firth to a single lane. Progress stays slow and sticky until we pass Inverness, just a couple of minutes adrift of our bogey time, but with the rain turning to snow. At first, the flurries of flakes barely bother the Karoq's wipers, and the road stays reassuringly black. But as the A9 begins its steady climb towards Slotched Summit, the fall gets heavier and starts to stick. Even with the Karoq's four-wheel drive and winter tires, the occasional stretches of passing lane are soon too wide for prudent use, and it's not long before we're grinding up the grate in a long line of cars and lorries. Following distant gritting truck, and with the speedometer pointing at just 5 miles per hour, the sat-nav's ADA starts to slip backwards, soon beyond the 7:19 a.m. at which first light is due to arrive in the far west of Cornwall.